This will be what, take 3, I guess? And if it doesn't work, it'll be take 4 next time, I guess.
Yeah, do you want to test it out or you just trust that it will register
Let's
whatever
just
we
let's
say?
just trust that it will register because I just thought about it, what, 10 minutes ago, started thinking about it 10 minutes ago, and I'm like, there's a lot we can talk about.
Yeah, but I have a few points, I think.
I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
that we will disagree and eventually agree, but,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
you want to start
Um,
introducing the topic?
okay. No, I don't want to. Can you start?
Okay, the topic will be, I have to find that, I have to phrase it in a way that we don't get murdered. Is I personally don't get the obsession with the manual transmission.
Why?
Before I answer why, I need to disclose that, at least for me, don't think I can still drive stick well.
Maybe
I
that's why
have.
you. Yeah.
We've taken a trip when we've driven stick, but I think that wasn't. Okay, I should say that I have a sum total of possibly 2 weeks worth of stick driving experience in my four
Entire life.
years worth of driving life.
Okay. That's a that's a good amount to judge whether you like it or not, I guess.
Yes. And so I'm saying that I don't get why people still fawn over the stick. I do not want to judge people for fawning over the stick, but
Okay.
I don't see why the stick needs to be raised up into a pedestal.
And why do you think people are still so fond of the stick then?
I was going to ask you that because you
Okay.
you have more attachment to the stick, I presume.
Yes. Yes. Not to say the stick, but manual transmissions in general, especially when you want to have fun. But I'm guessing that a lot of it stems from nostalgia and it's also kind of a trend in the car enthusiast community. Am I right? That
Yes,
if you don't love the stick and you're not fond of it, you're not a car enthusiast.
yes, you'll be
But it's
crucified.
just sad
That's
that
what I'm worried
yeah,
about now.
yeah, and it's just sad that we have people like you here that are afraid to even mention it because of how much of a it's a cult, you know, a
Yes,
cult of
it's the count, but like no, looking at, so are you only doing it to conform to other people, or do you actually have a concrete reason on why you enjoy the stick? Because both you and I have roughly the same experience with the stick.
yes.
Although I do have to
Um.
admit that you are better at it.
ah, okay. Well, I take that. I'll take that. Thank you. But I would say maybe my interest stemmed from following the crowd at first. I would say, but having
Mm-hmm.
experienced it, I can recommend it, but only at certain cases. So, okay, what are we going to start with?
Continue on where would you recommend it? Because I generally think now that any new car I buy now,
Mhm.
or any car within the last 10 years, how about that?
Okay,
I don't mind having it as an auto.
any car.
Here's the kicker. I've just seen, because I was just reading up on, like, I was reading about, there was this comment on Car Throttle that said something along the lines that it would be so wrong for an auto in a GT86.
Right.
And I disagree. I actually don't mind having an auto. And the GT86 is a perfect example because that is a daily driver sports car. And although in a sports car, the stick is raised up, it's haloed, and people think it's sacrilege to have an auto in a sports car, but it's a daily driver sports car. So I still think that I would get the GT86 in an auto. Curse me if you will, internet.
Hmm. I do see your point. Yeah, you made a very good point about it being a daily driver and hence it should be easy to drive, right? But you are basing out the
Yes.
fact that the user or the driver will use it in urban areas where start stop traffic is incredibly inconvenient and tiring for your feet
Mm-hmm.
if it were to be a manual. But if a person were to be daily driving it, I don't know, in the countryside or in rural areas, I think it's a blast to have a stick.
That's where I disagree again because I don't see myself gaining more enjoyment with a stick.
Okay.
And this is where I think we'll spend most of the time discussing.
Yes,
So,
yes. And why do you not need the added controllability? Like how why do you not need that?
okay, I've thought about this, and from my relatively short experience with driving compared to people who've done it for 40 years, I've never ever once thought that when I'm blasting a mountain road, having to put the clutch in, shifting to a lower gear, and then booting it, adding to the fun. I don't mind just booting the throttle and just seeing the car fly.
Okay. And can I just be sure that this applies for automatic manual transmissions as well?
Anything.
Anything. So
I think that in all I've driven quite a few auto DSGs and even CVTs. Basically, when I want to have fun on a mountain road, I just put the throttle and if it goes, it goes. I don't really care what the gearbox does as long as I feel it go, it goes.
well, I think a lot have to do with what you enjoy most about the drive, right?
Yes,
So what do you actually enjoy most about it? Can you describe it?
I know. I'm just taking in the road. Although, yeah, I'm not heel and toe. I don't aim, I try to aim for the apex, but
Yeah.
it's a public road. I'm just enjoying the sensation of speed, I guess.
Yeah, maybe that's what you're after. So there isn't a need to, hit apexes and
But it's not even that. I'm not going that fast. It's just I think this is going to be a very consolly session because I don't see having to change gear myself adding to the fun of
okay.
it.
So this is where I'm going to bring my point of view actually.
Yes,
Yeah.
change my view.
So as a motorsport fan and a
Uh-huh.
guy that is interested in motor racing in general, which manual gearboxes have been around. I mean, it was all where it started. No sports cars or like racing series will have automatic transmission. So I
Yes.
think car enthusiasts that want that added, so to say, feature, maybe just want to be like a racing driver, feel like you're actually a professional racing driver. And if you were to use an automatic, it wouldn't fit the full experience, if you see where I'm coming from. So it's a whole package.
Yeah, but all the fastest sports cars now have autos.
Yeah,
All the
that's
supercars.
true.
Which one has a which? There is no Ferrari now with a manual.
Yes, that's true. Yes, yes,
I
I think
think,
I think you're right. But
and there's no Lambo with a manual.
yeah, that's true. But
There's no Bugatti with a manual.
would you say that,
I'm dancing around the word Porsche because I know Porsche has
but
manuals.
do you think that car enthusiasts, given the chance to drive something like that, do you think they would stick it in auto or in manual? Which, well, in your case, you say that you don't mind either one. In fact, you prefer the computer to choose the gear for you. But in my opinion, I would have it in manual.
And then do what?
For me, it's how to put it? It's more engaging in a way because me personally, I enjoy the tone of a revving engine. And
You can do that by just stepping on
yeah,
the gas.
but then you will have to let the computer decide if it wants to drop you down a gear. And after you've put your foot down, there will be a considerable delay between when it actually register your throttle and decide that it is suitable or appropriate to drop the gear down. Whereas if you're driving, just click a button and down you go, to the lower gear, and immediately you get the feedback.
Okay.
The feedback that I'm talking about here.
Okay. But see, even now, are you agreeing that the manual gearbox is dead? That you don't care enough to say that you
Yeah,
like the manual gearbox,
yeah. That is where
manual
we
with a
meet in the
clutch?
middle actually, because
Ah, that means you're agreeing on this topic. I was really hoping that you changed
no,
my view.
but you see, I am a fan. I'm for changing gears, but the method of doing it, well, for me, doesn't matter as long as it achieves an instant change in gear. Whatever method it is, I don't care, and that is the most important part. I
Okay.
think the interest or the fondness of manual transmission, especially in the car community, is from nostalgia. Actually,
So
yeah,
you think that the clutch pedal is redundant?
yes,
Can you say that?
yes, it is redundant.
Okay.
Yeah,
Damn.
yeah.
Thanks for agreeing.
But I might
Yeah.
want I want to throw in an extra point though. So
Uh-huh.
if I were to drive a really shitty car and with literally no
Uh-huh.
performance and just a regular shitty small car, I would go for the manual transmission. And maybe this is from my experience driving it for 3 days. Maybe I will hate it if I were to drive it for like every day in a year. But if I was to just, like what we did, rent a car,
I
yes,
mean
have a
that shitty
blast
little
on the
Aygo,
country
yes.
roads, I will go for the manual just because it has this. It's stupid to call it a feature, but nowadays having something like that, a manual transmission with a stick and clutch, is a feature and can make a dull car become fun. Can you agree with that?
Yeah, but having a tiger in the passenger seat is a feature. It's not necessarily a good feature. I would still take the auto and just let it scream its nuts off, you know?
Hmm. Um, yes, it will. You can still scream the nuts off of the engine. I'm sure it will still rev like how it did
Yeah.
with an auto transmission.
Yeah, with an auto you can still let it just
Yeah,
scream,
but
yeah.
maybe how I see it is like playing a game, and the added difficulty or the
Uh-huh.
added consideration, the fact that you have to, put your left foot down and move the gear stick. I don't know. It's just an added element to the joy,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah, but if it goes wrong, you're
Okay, maybe
dead.
this is stemming from the fact that you're not that skilled at driving a manual. Maybe.
Yes, it could
Yeah.
it could be that.
Yes, I agree. It could go wrong, but
It did go wrong
but as
many, many
I
times.
feel like as we got more used to it, it became not only bearable, but it did nothing much went wrong after that. After the first and second day,
Yeah, it became bearable. It didn't become more fun.
fair
See?
enough.
That's
I
my point.
I do see your point. So hence I would not
Uh-huh.
recommend anyone actually who lives in the city to get a manual car as a daily driver because that is nuts.
You're being more brave. I just said that I wouldn't get a manual. Whatever you all want to do, it's up
Yeah,
to the rest
true,
of the
but I
world.
just think that it's impractical. It's
Because this is, it's like saying that you'll get a Miata in an auto. People will
yeah, but
crucify you.
will I get a Miata as my daily driver? Maybe not. But if it was my second, third car or my weekend car, of course I'll get a manual. Would you? Would you not?
Okay, fine. If it's a second, third car, an MX-5,
Yeah.
I would probably get a manual. This is the hypocrisy. And also, okay, I have to say, older cars, I think I would still learn the manual to drive the
Yeah.
older cars that I
I
like.
guess that's something you just have to learn because then there's no way to drive the older cars that you love.
Yes, you have to live with it. Yeah. But okay, speaking of old cars though, I think this was the point that we brought up. That's how I came to this topic. My old BM with that crappy four-speed auto, I'll still take it in that form rather than a
Just to
six-speed manual.
clarify something, while you were enjoying the car, have you ever once thought of shifting it to the automatic manual mode?
Nope.
Well, because the gearbox is crappy, isn't it?
No, I just never look. When I pressed the throttle, it went. It didn't go very fast. It still went. And there was no point I see that I thought that yes, it will be so much more fun with a manual. Because look at what we did. We skidded it around, we drove the wheels off it. The only thing it didn't do that it would benefit from a
Drift,
manual
burnouts
was
and drifts. Yeah,
burnouts. Which
you can. Oh right,
no, it
yeah.
can't.
We
Look,
yeah
that thing
yeah we did.
drifted. Yeah, it was a really shit drift, but it
I
still
really think
drifted.
that it comes down to what are the aspects that you enjoy in driving, and
I'm not taking it to cross. I'm not taking even if I take it to a track. I don't mind it in auto. I don't see how a manual gearbox will improve that car. Because, okay, full disclosure here to everyone who's listening about this BM. It's a 325 E36 Cabriolet. It was the shittiest 325 E36 Cabriolet, possibly in Malaysia, but it was
yeah,
fun for a.
I would argue that it would be a dream to drive with a manual because, well, I would say
I
that the main drawback for me at least is the gearbox, and it was slow to downshift when I stepped onto the throttle, and
very.
yeah, very very
It
slow.
was very slow.
And I guess I just enjoy a more. I would enjoy it if it was more responsive, and the only way to achieve that is by manually selecting the gear yourself, and with a flick, the gear changes immediately, and maybe for me, I do enjoy the. I don't know. Maybe it's my interest in motorsport, but there's just something to it. Hearing the engine rev to whatever it is, and then changing the gear and hearing a different tone completely. I think that's very satisfying. But I think for you, you enjoy.
Yes.
Maybe we enjoy different aspects of the drive. Maybe you're more on, I don't know. You tell me. You said you enjoy the speed.
I have no idea. Maybe I just enjoy not
Yeah,
caring about changing
yeah,
gear. If that's but it goes, it goes. No, but okay. Taking your point on
yeah.
it being quick to change, I think that it's probably one of the charms of that car that it's so slow to change. That gearbox is just so dumb. It's just like, yes, I'm stepping on it. Please downshift. Okay,
See,
thank
but
you.
I still can't wrap my mind around how you are okay with that.
Maybe I'm just more used to it being dumb. It's just I don't mind
Okay,
it being like that. I'm happy with it taking its time. I can factor that into my driving instead of having to change gear. Maybe I'm just enjoying that I don't have to think about it. I can think about it.
yeah,
I can think about it by just modulating my throttle instead of thinking about
fair
using my
enough.
other
I
feet,
guess, yeah, I guess not
other foot.
having to even worry about the gear changing part adds to your, say, the fun that you get from driving it. Would you say so?
Yes, I could possibly say that
Okay.
I'm lazy.
Well,
How
for
about
me,
that?
it's I feel like the added complexity to it gives me more adrenaline and hence more fun when I'm driving. So I think it's just very different approach or the ways we enjoy driving in general. And for example, I don't know if it's relevant, but for every racing simulation games that I play, I would always stick it in manual.
Uh-huh.
Would you do that?
Oh, I've played quite a
Yeah.
lot of Gran Turismo on, well, relatively a lot last time. But I still
Hmm.
just played it in auto. And I could say I've never once used the manual mode in my
Oh, that's
7
such
speed
a
DSG
shame
on
though,
the
because the
Polo.
DSG is such a good gearbox.
Okay, maybe it's
You're
because
worried
I'm
about what?
worried about breaking my clutch, so that's why I've never once
Fair enough, but
shifted it manually.
were you ever tempted?
No, I've never got the urge to think that yeah, I need to knock it down a gear because whenever that urge comes along, I just step on it a bit harder.
Yeah, fair enough. And I guess you can deal with the delay, it doesn't bother you. But I would
Yeah.
say that by doing what you're doing, so basically, if you want it to downshift, you just step on it harder. And with that
Mm-hmm.
delay, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like, well, for me at least, if I were to experience that, I would feel like I'm not the one deciding on the gear change itself. It's the computer deciding for me. And hence I have less control over the car. I would like to feel that I am in total control of the car and I can decide to do whatever I want when I want to. So even if it achieves the same goal of downshifting, with that delay, I don't know, I just feel like I'm not doing it, which, well, you are not doing it.
I agree, I agree with your point. I agree that you have more control of the manual, and learning how to drive a manual gearbox means you have more. You learn more driving skills, like heel and toe,
Yeah.
like drifting, like burnouts. Yes, that's why I still recommend people learn how to drive a manual, and I would still like to learn how to drive a manual properly. But I don't see why. I don't see why. I don't see myself owning a
As
manual.
your only
No,
car.
wait, I
Okay?
do. How do I put it this way? I don't see why. I don't get the obsession with driving stick. How about that? Yes. Let's get like the podcast
We're just
title.
going around in circles.
But with okay, if you don't want to go around in circles, here's another hot take. I
Oh
don't mind
my
a CVT.
god. Have you actually properly experienced a CVT?
Yeah, the Honda Jazz has a CVT. I think
Yes,
the Corolla has a CVT. What else has a
literally
CVT that
every
I've
single
driven?
Japanese car. Um, Having had my fair share of experience with a CVT in my previous C, I would say that it can be a bit dull on high speeds. And
Yeah, but no, just rev the nuts off it.
okay, yeah, and but one thing is lacking. It's the because how smooth the gears change in a CVT, you don't actually feel it, right? And you lose part of the changes in rev that you hear when the gear shifts up and down. because it's just so smooth. Yeah. And
Yeah.
maybe the fact that you don't think that it's all that bad stems from the fact that you don't actually care about how the engine sounds. Because, yeah,
Possibly. No, but I don't agree. I don't agree entirely with it. No, I don't see why there's so much hate for the CVT. If there's much more things to hate a car
as a
about.
daily driver, the CVT is great, but
No, even as a car that you can throw around corners and have fun, I don't see the CVT as being the anti-fun gearbox.
yeah,
You can still have fun with a
of course
CVT.
you can, and you would argue that it's a minuscule difference if it was a CVT or say a regular top converter. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think it's just in general how you don't regard engine noise as something that contributes a lot to your fun factor, I would say. But for me, it's a very big part, and hence why I hate the CVT. So to sum it up, you basically engine noise is not a factor for you, and that's why you don't need to have control.
I think it's not
Yeah,
that
but
big
for
a
me,
factor.
it's a very huge factor. I would say hearing the don't you want to click a button on your car or downshift a gear and hear the pops and crackles at the back of your exhaust?
Okay, if you think of it this way, if you're driving up
Yeah.
a mountain road, a nice long mountain road, what is the priorities that you want to have in
Okay,
your car?
fair. You would want to go as fast as possible, and
I don't even say as fast as possible. I want to enjoy. I want it to grip. I don't want it to turn around. I don't want it to be an SUV that
yeah,
rolls over everywhere. I want it to be stable. I want it to be
yes.
nimble, and I want
Mhm.
adequate power.
And one more thing, you need sound as well.
Okay, I'll grant you that. But I don't care how the power is delivered.
Yeah, fair enough. You're just not popular on that.
It's like I'm sure you're having an
Uh huh.
EV, you have one gear, and there's instant power every time, and that's perfectly fine with me. I can see an EV being fun. It's only not fun because it's
Yeah,
heavy.
but the fact that it doesn't have any noise at all coming from the engine, that is what throws people off. And somehow it's fine with you.
Yeah.
But I'm actually quite interested in knowing what other people think. I mean, why people love the manual gearbox so much. I've tried googling it. Not much has come out, and
Yeah.
it's all very vague. It's more engaging. You have more control, but how does that actually contribute to the fun factor? I don't know.
Okay. Having driven a Cayman round the track, I do see that having a clutch,
Yes,
you can do
yes,
more with
yes.
it. Like I said, you can
Yeah,
heel toe, you can whatever. Yes. But I don't see myself having more
yeah.
fun than having a PDK. I don't see how the manual gearbox enhanced my experience.
Right, because you actually tried it.
Given the choice, I would possibly just take the PDK and I would have an equally or not better experience around the
Okay.
track. Because that's my argument for the manual being more engaging. Wait, maybe it is engaging because I focused a lot on the gearbox.
What do you mean?
Is that engagement? Is that the whole experience
I
was
think it
dominated
was
by the
more to do
gearbox?
with your unfamiliarity with it.
Me being shit.
But no, I don't think it should be.
Uh huh.
But
But yeah, I do have to say, how is it and how? Why do people say it's more engaging? What makes it engaging?
I guess it's just more for professional drivers, I would say, who are well capable of handling other aspects of the car and will go a step further in controlling the car by having a manual. And maybe, like we just said earlier, you just don't enjoy it so much because you find it difficult. I mean, to be fair, I find it difficult too, but and the learning process to get there is difficult.
Especially now that we both don't have access to
Yes,
any manual
yes.
cars.
Yeah, but the thing that I still find funny is that taking away the difficulty in handling a clutch and the gear shifter, taking that aside, even if you were
Mm-hmm.
presented with the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to use the manual automatic transmission, the clutch, not the clutch, the pedal shifters, and you
Mm-hmm.
still wouldn't use it, that is why. It's just a click.
Okay, I got to say, I don't think I've used I don't think I've ever used much paddle shifters at all.
Right. So are you saying that you haven't experienced it, so you can't say for sure if you want it there or not?
I used it before as a novelty on other cars,
But
but I don't see a general need to use it.
maybe my hands are just itchy and needs to do something while I'm driving. But
Because every time I test a car, I
Mhm.
I use it out of
Mhm.
novelty to see if it works. But then after that, it's like I'll drop it down a gear, and then I'm like, okay, I've dropped it down a
Put your
gear. What
foot
do I do with
down
it?
and enjoy the symphony, the music from your engine and your exhaust.
I- But it's I can't remember what. Okay, maybe the X50. It's a
Okay,
commuter car. What are you
I
gonna
mean, in
do
that
with it?
case, then you're better off just sticking to auto. But we're talking about supercars here.
But even with
Yeah,
the CLA,
yeah.
with the paddles, I've knocked it down a gear, and why can't I just put my foot down? It will still go. Why do I have to knock it down a
Mm.
gear? The car is smart enough that once I step on it, it flies. I don't need to knock it down a gear
Yeah,
and then it flies.
especially with how good the transmission is and the computer system, it should register
Yeah.
your throttle and downshift immediately. So you achieve the same goal.
Maybe it's also me being mechanically sympathetic in the most stupid sense because every time I knock it down a gear, the revs goes up and I'm like, am I hitting my engine? Yeah, so at least if I just step on it, it just
Yeah,
goes. So I don't have to just see the
okay.
revs just jump.
Yeah, that could be a very fair point. It's like if you were to downshift and step on it, it's like you're intentionally doing harm to your engine. I get that.
Yeah, this is more of a counseling session now. Discovering my
No, but
innards
that aside, I think
and sharing it all to the world. Oh well.
but yeah, I completely get your point. You achieve the same, especially with these cars like the CLA. I'm sure the gearbox is more than capable to downshift when you put your foot on the throttle. But maybe I just want to be a racing driver, you know? I want to feel like I'm a racing driver. And by doing downshifting it and stepping on it, I feel like I'm a pro racing driver and that I have full control over the car, even I don't. Can you see that?
I can see
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
can
So
understand
I guess
that.
it just stems from our difference in interest, I guess. Because I don't know, are you a huge motorsport or motor racing guy?
Yeah, but then again, you have to remember the CVTs were used in F1 before they were banned. I think it was Williams who used the CVT
The
because it's
gear shifts.
faster.
When was this again?
I can't remember. It was, I think, one of
Mhm.
those weird times in
And
the
so,
80s or
but it
90s,
still
I think.
shifts with it's a CVT powered by how does that work?
I have no
From what I
idea.
understand, the CVT is just a combination of gears.
Yeah, they had CVTs in in
Hmm.
in a Williams.
I actually need to look that up and see what's up with that. But
Well, we told ourselves that it's not good to go on Google while talking.
but wait, if it's a CVT, because CVT is basically how the gears are laid out such that the changes in gear will be smooth, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you still have to mechanically actuate the
Mm-hmm.
gears to put it in the right gear, the combination of gears to achieve the gear you want. So you can still control it with your manual.
I honestly have no idea how these
And you
virtual
call
gear ratios
yourself an
work.
engineer, a mechanical engineer.
It's very pot
What?
calling the kettle black here, okay? I'm throwing this question back
I
at you,
just
Mr.
answered
Mechanical
it.
Engineer.
What question were
What
you
do you mean you just
throwing
answered it?
back at me?
How the virtual gear ratios work?
Virtual gear ratio. I don't know if you can call it. What does virtual gear ratios mean?
Because the CVT has from what I know, it has that band
Yes,
with two gears.
two gears with varying diameter, right? And then yeah,
Yes,
basically a
or something like
belt or
that.
something connecting the two. And
Yeah.
as it moves along the gear, yeah, it achieves a different ratio. But
Yes.
how does one, because it's just two gears, right? Like a conical shaped gear. Do you know what I'm trying to explain, right? Like how a CVT looks like it.
Yes, I do, but I don't think anyone else will.
Oh,
So
I
I
didn't
think
know
we should move
we
away
were
from
on
that
record.
topic. Yes, let's move away from engineering because I don't feel like doing any more of that. And go back to the topic of driving the CVT. I still don't mind driving a CVT,
Yeah, I mean,
even for fun.
yeah, and I can see where you're coming from because, like I said, that is not something that you actually care about, like the engine noise and the gear change. You just want the car to move, to be agile and fast, and how it achieves that doesn't matter, and how it sounds it even doesn't matter to you that much anyway.
I think I'll put it this way. I will take a CVT Miata compared to a manual SUV
Hmm. And in for daily driving or just to blast off the country roads for fun.
to have
Yeah, of
fun, any
course.
type of
I will
fun.
I will get a CVT Miata too. Because to me, yeah, that overall driving the car, having it to be nimble and fast is still more important than well the sound it makes, obviously. Maybe perhaps this is just my lack of experience in having fun on the twisty road. And that is why I think that mhm,
But even driving around town, like going to any vaguely nice
mhm.
curvy highway road, I still think that I don't mind the CVT. Because I have a vivid memory of me. Well, if my parents are listening, they'll probably crucify me for this, but I had trashed the jazz quite hard coming back from
Yeah.
wherever I was on back roads of TTDI. Yeah, and I had fun.
And you think that you fair enough, you wouldn't have more fun if it was in a manual because then you can't concentrate on the driving itself.
Yeah, and I was chucking into corners and just laughing.
Fair enough, actually. Um, I I guess it's not that big of a factor for you. Like I feel like I'm repeating myself over and over again.
You're reinforcing a point that I don't see. Okay, what was my point again? My point is, I don't see the obsession with having a stick. I don't see how it improves engagement. I don't see myself choosing a manual over an auto, especially with new cars. And even if it is a fun car, and I don't mind the
So you would
CVT.
get a Nissan Z with an automatic,
Yes,
even if it wasn't your daily car.
yes. Although the Nissan Z does have that rev matching
That would
feature
be
when
a
you
lot.
downshift, which
Mhm.
it's quite cool, I got to admit. But I think with the Z itself, it just suits. People will kill me for this, but it just suits an auto more. It's a more, it's a sports car, but it's
Mhm.
big and heavy and
Mhm.
it looks nice. That's why I like it. But it's, I'll take an auto for it. I have no admission of guilt for taking an auto. Considering I've already said I'll
Yeah,
take the
yeah.
GT86 as an auto. I don't see how this is different. Will you take the GT86 as an auto?
For my daily driver, yeah, I will. But
Okay, if you have it as a
right,
track prepped
oh,
car.
you know me. I want to be a racing driver, so that's an easy answer. I don't have to think of it.
Okay. Actually, I thought about this. I didn't know whether I want to say this, but for manual cars, I think the one point to guide me towards the manual is that your gear lever needs to be on the same length. You need to be sitting low down in the car for a manual to work. Like like being an MX-5, you sit low down. Your manual is the same length as. You don't have to go down into the footwell to find the gearbox. The
Right
gearbox
where
is right,
your
well,
yeah,
near your knee.
uh-huh. Wait,
So I think that is the. You get what I'm saying?
yeah, I get
Your
that,
arm is
but I get
horizontal
that about the
when you're
height,
going.
but why did you bring that up again?
I brought it up because I think that whenever I pretend, whenever I imagine myself
Mhm.
shifting gears in a manual, it's just that right position. You're sitting lower down, and whereas in
Mhm.
the shitty little Aygo, you have to dig for the gear down at the bottom, or even if you have a manual hatchback like a Golf, it's still
Yeah,
at the bottom there. I would like my manuals, if I were to get one, to be like an MX-5, like an
yeah.
S2000, when your arm is horizontal with the gear stick when you're shifting.
Your arm can't be Horizontal. I thought it's about the height of the gear
Horizontal
shifter
to the,
itself.
how would I say it's horizontal? That means when like compared to shifting in a like the shitty little Aygo, it's down there somewhere. Whereas in the MX-5, your arm is horizontal to the gear, to the transmission
Yeah.
tunnel. You get what I mean? To the armrest, to the
Oh, so
center
you're
console. Yeah.
saying with other cars it's lower, the gear stick is lower and
Yeah.
positioned more to the front. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So I want my gear stick to be right where
Okay.
the cup holders in most cars should be.
Okay. But that's what they are doing in sports cars, isn't it?
I need to sit next to the gearbox, literally,
Yeah. But yeah.
so that the transmission is the stick is there. The stick
Yeah,
should be
yeah.
above where I
I
sit.
get that, but aren't sports cars these days, aren't the gear stick already positioned at where you describe it to be?
Yeah, that is what will draw me more towards getting a manual for
Yeah,
that type of car. I might consider getting a manual Z, but I definitely won't consider getting like a manual, the shitty little
yeah,
Aygo.
fair enough. I mean, I wouldn't too, but yeah, to be fair, it's just not, it doesn't suit what the car, how do I put it this way? Ideally, it will be most appropriate for you to want a manual in a sports car, right? The sportier it is, the more it makes sense to use a manual.
More
Yeah, more
fun it
fun,
is. I won't
right?
say
But
sportier
in normal cars,
because I'm thinking about the Honda
yeah,
Beat, and yeah, that's definitely
yeah,
not
and
sporty,
that's
but
why
it's
I deserve a
fun.
manual. Yeah, I'm actually agreeing on you with this one. So if it were to be the shitty Aygo or just a Golf, I wouldn't get a manual. I really
Uh huh.
wouldn't get a manual because I when I drive that car, I don't imagine myself being a race driver because I'm in a shitty car. But I think one of the main reasons why, I don't know about you, but why I was so adamant on renting the manual Aygo is just the novelty factor. The fact that
Yeah,
yeah,
as a novelty, I
yeah.
understand.
Um, and the fact that we only have to bear with it for 3 days. So overall, it'll be a good experience. If I were to say rent it for a year to actually use it, no way in hell I would get the manual. But I would think that I wouldn't be able to have as much fun as I did on the country road if it wasn't a manual. And well, maybe that is just because of the novelty factor. The manual gearbox is something so foreign to me, and it's just exciting rather than I drive a auto car every day and I know how it feels on a twisty road. So there's no added
Yeah.
excitement to it. How about that?
Yeah, I understand it as a novelty for a holiday. It's like a holiday romance. You go to Vegas,
Yeah, you can't do
you
that every
shack
day,
up,
right?
and then you leave.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
can you agree on that? Would you say in hindsight, would you have opted for the automatic version of it?
I agree in principle that yes, the
Mhm.
manual was a fun experience.
You would get an
If you
auto.
were to do the trip again, 99% yes. Because I think that I would enjoy the roads
Mhm.
equally without having to stress about stalling, burning the clutch.
Mm,
What else have we done?
Yeah,
Stalling,
I would
basically.
agree with you on that. If I well, every time we get to rent one, I mean, every time we get to drive a manual, we're practicing our manual driving skills, isn't it? But if that is not something that I'm bothered with,
Yes.
then yeah, I agree with you. No more manuals, man.
So, like I said, if we were to go to Scotland and do this tour, I want to
For the
rent an
novelty
EV
factor,
because that's also another
yes.
that's a
So we
that's
are
a
going on to try
novelty.
newer and newer things. I can agree with that. Yeah.
Yes.
Hell, I think you are the one influencing me on this podcast, man.
No, but it goes back to the point. I don't get the obsession with driving stick.
Mm.
So if anyone out there wants to change your mind, please feel
Well,
free.
me neither. I'm just all about choosing what gear you can be in. Whatever the way that can achieve that, I'm cool with it.
I honestly thought you would argue that the clutch
No,
is an
no, it's a
important factor
hassle.
in this.
It's really a hassle.
Because I understand in principle that the clutch is what you can
Yeah,
is you play with the clutch to do all
yeah,
the
yeah.
heel and toe and etc. Because that
Yes,
all relies on having clutch
but we don't
control.
know how to do any of that, and we've never tried, and hence we are not exposed to it, and obviously why we're not bothered with it.
Yes, basically yes. I think this will be one of those. We will look back at this podcast in possibly, I don't know, a couple of years when we actually have experience with manuals, hopefully. and we will be like, what is
Yeah,
these two
because
idiots
the thing
talking
is, you've
about?
actually never tried doing all of those things that people talk about that are fun to do with a manual, right? If it's just solely from changing the gears, then obviously it doesn't make much sense because, like you said, whatever the manual gearbox you can do with it, the computer can do it as good as a manual transmission can. So maybe
Better.
we need to open our minds to what's out there.
But I put it to the people who say that we are ignorant and we are talking out of
We
our ass,
certainly are.
which we are. And you already spent 1 hour listening to us talking about our ass,
Jokes on
so
you.
who's the idiot here?
uh
Oh, no, I was trying to make the point that you can heel and toe at every gear change, but what's the point? Are you getting enjoyment out of it? I can see that you can make the argument that you're getting more enjoyment when you're heel and toe every single gear change, but are you getting more enjoyment than just enjoying the drive?
I think probably not.
Of course, you say no because you're agreeing with my points,
Yeah.
but I'm throwing it out there to say that you can heel and toe at every gear change, but in just a normal, your 99% driving scenario when you're driving to work, will you be getting more engagement? Will you be having more fun than me
Well,
in my auto? Because I think I have a lot of fun driving my little Polo around town and just giggling at it,
yeah,
just giggling at the
sure.
turbo
But
spools.
maybe it's just another dimension of fun, especially on your daily boring commute.
I think that's about it. We can end it now, I guess. So see you whenever for the recording at least. Let's see if it actually
Yeah, you
records.
want me to
I also
try?
have to do this whole thing over again.